Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, delegates, President Lebre, President outgoing President Megan. It is a great honor and pleasure for me to welcome so many high-level delegates, heads of governments, ministers, ambassadors from 172 member states today. I warmly welcome you to the 20th UNIDO General Conference here in Vienna. It is impressive that many of you came to Vienna to attend this General Conference in person. We are delighted to have you here. This underlines the importance of UNIDO for their countries. As a special guest of honor, I greet the Prime Minister of Ethiopia, His Excellency Mr. Abiy Ahmed. It is a special pleasure and honor for UNIDO and the conference. Thank you for participation, Excellency. From Asia region and G77 and China, I welcome the China International Trade Representative and Minister of Commerce, His Excellency Mr. Wang Shuwen. Welcome. Representing Latin America region, the Minister of Production of Peru, Her Excellency Ms. Ana Maria Chocohanca da Villanueva. Welcome. And as speaker from Central Asia, we are honored by the presence of His Excellency Deputy Prime Minister Ana Mamedov from Turkmenistan. I'm particularly pleased to welcome two new member states to the UNIDO family. Palau joined at the beginning of the year and South Sudan in the summer. We are honored today to welcome here the Foreign Minister of Palau, His Excellency Mr. Gustavo Aldairo. That was a very long journey for him, about 35 hours. We are proud that 172 countries are now members of UNIDO. Ladies and gentlemen, a short review. 2015 was the year of hope and a new beginning. The world committed itself to the 2030 agenda, aiming to create a world without hunger and poverty, to end the inequality between the rich and the poor. Additionally, in 2015, you remember, the world committed to the Paris Agreement, pledging to limit and combat climate change. 8 years later, 2023, now, where do we stand today? Poverty, hunger, and injustice continue to increase worldwide. 10% of the wealthy people in industrialized countries own 80% of the wealth. Climate change is advancing and CO2 emissions are on the rise. What are the challenges today? The COVID-19 pandemic, wars and their consequences, and climate change hit the poorest and the poor in the global south hardest. Even so, they are not responsible for these issues. These countries struggle with the impacts of climate change, even in Ethiopia, in Kenya, in Latin American countries, including an energy and food crisis, rising food prices, high costs for energy and fertilizer, resulting in dramatic inflation and in a debt crisis. Ladies and gentlemen, the time has come for a new global contract between the rich and the poor, a new world future contract. More global solidarity is needed. We need to rethink global economy. We require new rules for globalization, fostering a fair globalization with development opportunities for all. Industrialized countries must fulfill their promise, contracts and commitments. Specifically, the 0.7 target must be mandatory. countries spending 2% on defense should at least be willing to allocate 0.7% to development cooperation. Climate change is a matter of justice. Necessary is a new global burden-sharing mechanism. A worldwide Green Deal is required. The question of the century is how to daily provide food and electricity to the more than 3 to 5 billion people in the global south. How to offer hundreds of millions of people a future job and better living conditions. We all must consider that the world population grows by 250,000 people every day, 250,000 people today. And that means 80 million people every year. Africa is set to double its population by 2050. And these people, they need food, energy, jobs, and infrastructure. The world community must provide answers to these challenges. There's a deficit in political action and will. We stand at a tipping point in history. Necessary is a fundamental change in politics, in economy, in global cooperation. To take a first step would be possible next week at COP28. Industrialized countries need to agree on new mandatory rules that they must follow to meet climate targets. Think about G20 are responsible for 80% of CO2 emissions in the world, 80%. 54 African countries responsible for 4%. It involves establishing a new financing system for investments in developing countries. Developing countries need an economic perspective. SDG 8 calls for decent work and opportunities for all, assuming an annual growth of at least 77% economic growth, like today in Ethiopia. 7% economic growth. This can happen, and it requires certain important decisions. Debt relief for all least developed countries, access to the international financial system and substantial investments. To reach the SDGs, be open and clear, to reach the SDG, not billions, trillions are necessary. But what is the reality? Currently, LDCs have almost no access to the financial market and pay interest rates of 10 to 15% for loans. In contrast, industrialized countries support their economies with trillions after the pandemic and the consequences. They support their economies with trillions, while simultaneously reducing global investments in development cooperation. This is unacceptable. In addition to achieving the 0.7 target, it is essential to implement mandatory regulations for fair global supply chains. Two examples illustrate how unfair global trade today is. In the countries of the global south, especially Ethiopia, 150 million people work in the production of coffee and tea around the world. Workers on plantations receive a wage of 15 cents per hour. I visited some of these plantations in Latin American, in African countries, and spoke with the workers. The price for 1 kilogram of raw coffee beans is about 50 to 70 cents. And in Vienna, the cost of 1 kilogram of coffee is then 12 to 15 euro. Where does the value addition remain? We need a reversal of this system, emphasizing local added value and fair wages for farmers on site. Another example, textile production. A pair of jeans produced in Ethiopia or Bangladesh costs $5 to manufacture and is sold in Vienna for $50 or $150, from $5 to $150. Where does the value addition remain? The value addition does not stay with the women in production in Bangladesh or Ethiopia, as their earnings are as low as 50 cents per hour. This is exploitation within global supply chain. We can and must change this. A world without hunger is possible, and dignified world for all is our mission. UNIDO is your partner for fair value chains, collaborating with the WTO and ILO. UNIDO is also your partner for sustainable industrialization, innovation, and access to energy for all. Many projects aim for these objectives. However, more investments are needed, as only 2% of global investments in renewable energy currently flow into developing countries. Everybody speaks about this, especially at the COP28, but only 2% of global investments in renewable energy currently flow into developing countries, and only a few hydrogen projects are implemented there. UNIDO is your partner. We are part of a global alliance for hydrogen. Hydrogen for developing countries is the goal. UNIDO is also your partner for food security in agri-tech processing industry. In collaboration with many member states and countries, we implement projects to increase agricultural productivity. Ethiopia, Prime Minister Abiy, is a good example for this. The government, led by Abiy Ahmed, focuses on progress through innovation. Ethiopia has tripled wheat yields in the last 3 years, transforming from an importer to an exporter. This development is also possible for rice, millet, corn, and other products. China, Minister, and many Asian countries have successfully taken this path, lifting hundreds of millions of people the last 50 years out of poverty over the past decades. So, ladies and gentlemen, the good news is that today we have the technologies, the knowledge, and the money is there to achieve the SDG goals. What is lacking is the political will to create the conditions for all in the world. UNIDO is your project partner, but also your voice in the global community. Therefore, I urge the industrialized nations present here today to do more, to live up to their responsibility. This is not about charity. It's about a fair partnership for a shared future. We all must understand, no global challenge, and hunger, climate change, no global challenge can be resolved without investments in the future of people in the global south. Ladies and gentlemen, you elected me as the Director General 2 years ago. I have taken on this task with joy and determination. We have reformed UNIDO, making it leaner, more efficient, and more effective. Our priorities are clear. Progress by innovation with new investments, technology, and knowledge transfer through projects and partnerships in cooperation with you. Ladies and gentlemen, in 2021-2022, you know we face challenging budgetary circumstances, and therefore it is a particularly significant success that we have managed to increase TC implementation by 25% in 2023. 25% in 2023. This is my goal even for the next year. An important issue: we are making steady progress on gender equality and the empowerment of women. I would like to thank Ms. Ugas for her work on our new gender strategy. We have strengthened our regional approach and defined clear regional strategies. I thank Ms. Haidara for her work. We have adopted the action plan for Latin America. My goal is to increase our TC portfolio there in Latin America, also to strengthen, important message, headquarters with senior management positions for Latin American staff members. Where's the applause from the Latin Americans? Thank you so much. In Southeast Asia, we will continue our work on flagship initiatives such as industrial decarbonization, sustainable cities, and e-mobility. In Eastern Europe, we have signed new partnerships agreement with emerging donors. And with African countries, you know, we start a lot of new partner programs. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm happy and grateful. During the General Conference, new agreements will be agreed upon, including flagship projects with China, Saudi Arabia, Germany, Japan, and others. Austria initiated our Ukraine platform. Thank you for this, with support by Germany, Japan, Czech Republic, Italy, Japan, Scandinavian countries, and Switzerland have strengthened their programs with UNIDO. While I cannot mention each individually, I would like to thank you all. The European Union has selected UNIDO together with ITC as the main partner in the implementation of the 200 million program to support the African continental free trade area. The United Kingdom, not member state, I'm very proud about this, is now our partner in the implementation of a 80 million project in the field of climate protection. Thank you so much. Many member states and international organizations like GEF, Green Climate Fund, Montreal Protocol will expand their partnership with UNIDO, for which I'm very grateful. My special thanks also go to my leadership team. Mr. Zhu, DDG Yasunaga, DDG Haidara, Managing Director Bega, Chief of Cabinet Pelikan, Head of Office Matyat, the whole ODG team, and the entire UNIDO team, both here and in the field. Only together we are successful. Ladies and gentlemen, we must act and work on solutions. And allow me to conclude with a quote from Nelson Mandela. What counts in life is not the mere fact that we have lived. It is what difference we have made to the lives of others. Thank you so much.